11th, we are at our regular April Town Council meeting called the Room to Order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilwoman Fraser.
Dear Lord, we thank you for all your blessings. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We ask for your continued guidance. We ask that you continue to uplift this community. We ask for your continued direction as we make decisions for the betterment of our town and our citizens. These and all the blessings we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bridget. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Mr. Cease, are there any changes?
No, ma'am, no changes.
If there are no changes, is there a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Last month, per the request of the Municipal Association, all of the towns in South Carolina have been asked to adopt a Civility Pledge, which we adopted last month, so we can say this at this point in the agenda if y'all like to read with me, or I can read it. We pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of the town of Bluffton. Next, we have the adoption of minutes, regular meeting minutes of March 14th.
So
No changes? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next, we have a few presentations. First is our Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month, and I think he walked up, so if y'all would come forward. It's Braden Burnham from Red Cedar. Good, Braden. Welcome. So, a lot of new people in the room, but as you know, you turn around here and face all some of these nice people. We have a character student of the month, a character trait that the school district put into place several years ago. And our cluster is the largest cluster of the county. So you were picked from over 13,000 students. There's something in the water. I do tend to see Red Cedar here a lot. So Braden was recognized for the character trait, honesty and integrity. So do you want to speak on that?
Yep, I have a few things to say about Braden with honesty and integrity. He also was checked off for academic performance, cooperation, leadership, and consideration for others. Braden Burnham is an outstanding citizen in our classroom community. Every day he goes about his school tasks without being asked. His work integrity is amazing. Braden works for the entire time he's allotted to complete a task, always doing his best and taking his time. On occasion, we grade our own papers with crayons in order to catch our own mistakes and learn from them. He always acts in an honest manner, never trying to erase his own answers and change them. His integrity and honesty in his work is just part of his character. He also exhibits these great traits when working with other students and teachers. All around the playground and school, Braden is true to himself and continues to be honest and show integrity. Even if other students and friends are around, he makes great choices. One example is a day in our classroom when he was questioned about an incident. He could have lied for a friend to keep him from consequences, but he told the truth and proudly stated, "I won't lie about it." For these reasons, Ms. Harms, his teacher, nominated Braden. I feel proud to know him. That is what Ms. Harms wrote about our
certificate you can frame and put in your room. We have we don't give these out to too many people. So these are challenge coins. Have you ever heard of them? Well, they're very important in a lot of governmental entities, police departments and towns, big businesses, and they give them out. They're collectibles. So that's for you. And recently, our Chief Babkowitz decided to go to the school to give out the police challenge coin and really embarrass you, but he's doing it here. But he would love to come to your class and talk about it and just talk to y'all about public safety. So by you getting this award, you now have an invite from Chief Babkowitz, our police chief, to come talk to your class. So this is from the police department. You're welcome.
All right, everyone ready? All right, thank you.
Good, congratulations.
Thank you so
Thank you all for
much.
coming. Thank you so much. Next, we have Child Abuse Awareness Proclamation. We have a few. And we have, I know Jim's here. If Chris, yes, come forward. Is Chris Wilbur? Yes, come forward. These two from Kappa and Hopeful Horizons are coming to accept the proclamation. It's Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Whereas South Carolina's future prosperity is dependent on nurturing the health development of 1.1 million children currently residing in the diverse communities across our state. Whereas all children deserve to have safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development. Whereas child abuse is a public health issue with serious societal consequences, as data shows the link between abuse and neglect of children and a wide range of costly medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral problems into adulthood. And whereas effective child abuse prevention exists in communities that provide parents with the social support, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete resources they need to cope with the stress and nurture their children, help to ensure that all children can grow to their full potential. Therefore, I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of the Town of Bluffton, along with Town Council, in conjunction with Hopeful Horizons, Child Abuse Prevention Association, and support service programs around the state, designates the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. We can get you two, but we'll give it to her since it's the lady.
Well, we can just go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Trying to get everyone out. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Horizon,
Yes.
is that right? We can
Fair Housing Month is here. We have a big agenda, so we won't bring up staff for that, but that is something we do every single year and every month this time. Next is Arbor Day, and I think someone's here from Arbor Day. Come forward. Arbor Day is also in April, so you can bring up whoever you want. Thank you for coming. Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
Yes. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. Whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air and water, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, paper, fruits, and nuts for nourishment, and countless other goods and products. Whereas when properly selected, planted in the right places, and intended appropriately, trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Whereas Bluffton Town Council and Beautification Committee are committed to tree is the key, tree management that promotes a safe, healthy, and attractive urban forest. I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of the Town of Bluffton, along with Bluffton Town Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 28th as Arbor Day in the Town of Bluffton. And we urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. We also urge citizens to plant and care for trees and to promote the well-being of this and future generations. For you, and then and do we have our Arbor Day date?
The 28th.
Right,
that
and we're
morning.
planting it. Martin Family Park on the 28th, we'll be planting a tree. So thank you for coming.
We need the proclamation for Arbor Day.
Oh, we need a proclamation. Sorry. Okay. So this is the day of plantings. This is also native plant proclamation. So do we have someone here to accept? Ms. Reeves, are you coming up? This is quite an honor because While we proclaim it, we also have the requirement of native plants to be planted in our development, so it's an appropriate time to present this. Whereas native plants are indigenous species that have evolved alongside native wildlife and occur naturally in a particular geographic region, ecosystem, and habitat. Whereas native plants are essential for healthy, diverse, and sustainable ecosystems and are critical for cleaning air, filtering water, and stabilizing soils. Whereas native plants are well adapted to Bluffton, South Carolina's soils, temperatures, precipitation, and environmental conditions, making them the best option for conserving and protecting our environment and adapting to its changes. Whereas South Carolina is home to more than 135 native plant species, which include large shade trees, shrubs, perennials, vines, grasses, and wildflowers. Whereas it is important to encourage public awareness about the benefits of Bluffton's native plants to pollinators and other wildlife, to the economy, and to the health and sustainability of our Low Country's fragile ecosystem. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of the Town of Bluffton, along with Bluffton Town Council, do hereby proclaim April 2023's Bluffton, South Carolina Native Plant Month, and encourage Bluffton citizens to observe this day by removing non-native invasive plants in our yards and communities, and planting native trees, shrubs, and flowers, and educating our citizens about the benefits of native plants. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's good. Thank you. Next, we have David Nellums with the Don Ryan update. Good evening.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Good to see you again. Mr. Hamilton, I wore this just for you because I wanted to look sharp for you, because you always look so nice. Even have oysters on my socks. All right. Just a little brief update. As you know, I was here back in October, and just want to give you a little update of what's been going on lately. Nothing's really changed other than we continue to be very, very busy at the hub of the Don Ryan Center. We welcome you all to come by. Some of you come by from time to time to see what we're doing, but doing really well with the partnerships, and we've added some more companies I'll talk about in a few moments. We've got a great staff. Paul Arventini's here. Raise your hand, Paul. I'll embarrass you. There you go. Paul's been tremendous since we hired him last year, and again, awareness of the Don Ryan Center and what we're doing for the town and for the county and for the counties and the region is growing. So I'll share a few things with you. As far as programs, as you know, we have 3 basic programs. Resiliency is the free program that we offer business advice to anyone that has any kind of questions, whether it's a phone call or a short meeting. We have worked with 79 companies since then, since March of 2020. In our startup program, we have 7 companies currently, and we've worked with 20 additional companies since February 2020. And startup, as you may remember, that is the main program we've been doing for the past 10 years, in startup entrepreneurship and things like that. And then the growth program is something we started about 2 years ago for cash flow positive businesses that are doing well, but they want to level up to the next level, whatever that happens to be. That program is really growing. We have 5 companies that are currently in there, and a lot of companies that if I gave you the names, you'd recognize them as well known in the area. So we're very pleased with the growth program, all the programs, and so they're all doing really well, really well. 1,046 members, that continues to grow, and 70 mentors, 70 people that donate their time and their expertise to help our companies. That's more than SCORE has down on the island. So we really have a tremendous group of volunteers that help us out, and we couldn't do it without the mentors, and we couldn't do it without the staff. So the programs are running really, really well. If you were to come by the hub on any particular day, you would find that we're very busy, that a lot of the rooms are full. As you know, we have that big one room we kind of call the fishbowl, but we have all these other small rooms, and it used to be everything happened in the fishbowl because that was the nicest room, but now all the rooms are busy all the time, and sometimes it's hard to get a seat in there, so it's really exciting. We've done a lot of things since we started in 2023. We started our How I Built It series, and Mr. Greg Parker kicked that event off 2 weeks ago. Mayor Sulka was there, and had about 160 people to watch that event, and I had privileged to introduce him, and you can see some pictures of the event there. And that went over really, really well, met a lot of new contacts, and I think it really launched with the right person. This series we're going to do probably twice a year with business leaders that are well-known that will really draw a crowd and get people excited. So it was really a well-done event. Doing other things, we just did another Shark Tank prep at Hilton Head Christian. We do that with them twice a year. We're working with our partners like the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Bluffton Chamber of Commerce. They're doing multiple events there. We've got a little press, so you can see that in that new magazine. I forgot the name of it, but that new magazine and that Improving Our Community article there. So we get a lot of good press, a lot of good recognition. One of the things Councilwoman Frazier challenged us to last time we spoke in October was having some kind of a business health check. And so we did implement that. It's actually a little survey. You see a little screenshot there on the left where you can take probably a 20-question test, and it gives you a score, and it tells you how to score. We say if you've done that well, if you get between 190 points on your score, you should really be a mentor because you're doing a great job with your business. And then other things we can help you out in. And we decided to put Paul in charge of this, and we came up with this idea, well, they can just call Paul. And if you've ever watched Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, you'll recognize that Better Call Paul looks exactly like the Better Call Saul. I even had to make Paul dress up in a suit and tie to keep that picture there. But so, other than just helping businesses, it does allow us to generate some metrics for people for businesses in Bluffton about how they think we're doing, how they think they're doing. And we'll be able to aggregate that data over time and see how people are doing in Bluffton. As far as some of the metrics we track, the ones below are what we kind of keep up with for you guys. We do a lot more, but these are the ones that we're formally keeping up with, and you can see the goal and the status and how we're doing on those. We're either on target or exceeding most areas. Again, we have 12 companies in the Don Ryan Center. We're probably going to add 2 to 4 more in the next 60 days. As most as we've ever had in 10 years was 11 companies. So we're doing more than we ever have. We've got a great staff, we've got a great facility, and we really appreciate council's support and advice. And as we continue this, I think the town and the county and the region is getting a lot out of the program. So with that, any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Questions? Questions on this side? Yes, Ms. Frazier.
Great presentation. Thank you. I do have a question, and I'm glad to see you guys implemented the health check. I think a lot of businesses could benefit from that. Since adding that, have any businesses completed the survey that you all have put together?
Yeah, we've had probably 15 or so that have completed the survey. We really kind of use it as a gauge to see who needs help, and then they can take the survey, and then we recommend based on their score that they reach out to us, reach out to Paul, Better Call Paul. And Paul's had a couple of conversations with some of them. I think some of them just want to get their survey results, but the goal is to be able to talk to them and set a meeting and see if we can help them either the short term with a couple of answers or maybe get them into a startup program or a growth program or things like that. So it's slow going, but we knew it's not a big pipeline generator, it's more of a service. We'll continue to advertise it.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing that thing. I'm going to add a 7 in the mayor's privilege. We're going to keep communications from mayor and council where it is, but I do want to take a moment for all of us to wish Kim Gannon not farewell, but so long. She's going across the bridge. She's taking a job over there, and I think Stephen's going to take it from here, and we just wanted to thank you for all that you've done. Thank you.
Yeah. Hit on the key. I was just going to, take a chance for anybody who didn't know Kim or hasn't worked with Kim, she's been with the town for over 15 years, or right at 15 years, and she's been the clerk for quite a while now. She's if you've had to deal with the town, you've probably met Kim. I know council is going to miss her. I'm going to miss her. But like the mayor said, she's not going far. We're not getting away from her. She's not getting away from us. She's just going across the bridge. So we'll still have her on speed dial and be able to see her at a lot of things that go on within the community. So I just wanted to take the time so that we could wish her the best and thank her for everything that she's done for the town while she's been here.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I already talked to her. She knows what I think.
I love you all.
We love you.
Back at you.
Also want to just two quick things. We just mentioned the chamber. I do want, we have two chambers. The Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber, we have the Bluffton Greater Chamber. The Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber recently had their ball, and a local company was given an award, Watterson Brands, and that was a real big highlight for Bluffton. He's doing a lot for Bluffton and Hilton Head. But the exciting part was the Greater Bluffton Chamber of Commerce, which we do support, and went to the Golden Oyster, and our very own Dan Wood was nominated by the Chamber to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. So congratulations, Dan, on that. Get that out of the way, and it's good to acknowledge our council and our staff. Next is public comment. Public comment, as I say, before I read the rules, we support fully, and we encourage public comment. Public comment is a privilege. That public comment is not a right in town councils. Governing bodies are not required to have public comment, but if you do, under our town ordinances, it is allowed subject to reasonable rules, which I will read before we call the first person. During public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name-calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to issues under the jurisdiction of our town council and not use this public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules will be ruled out of order by the presiding officer. Any person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may be subject to removal from the meeting and or a citation under Section 249 of the Code. We're up. Mr. Hope, and please name and address, and that will be given before your statement starts.
Skip Hoagland, Windmill Harbor. Last council meeting, I simply came for a 3-minute comment, and Mayor Sulka escalated this to an extreme abusive level. Sheriff Tanner warned her. She did not listen. Mr. Wood, on video, you accused me of assault in Bluffton, many cities in South Carolina, and even the South Carolina Supreme Court and judges, etc. I consider this defamatory. Can you and your dishonest town lawyer, Finger Sulka, prove this and provide any evidence that I have assaulted anyone versus honest criticism? Mr. Wood, you and this council seem to have a hard time understanding the differences between assault, free speech, defamation, local rules versus First Amendment, and also citizens' rights to assign their speech to others, or use a POA for anything else they wish, including pulling the plug on their deathbed. Laws prevail over a local rule. Please note, Mr. Finger also lied regarding a conversation in the back room. Finger also asked me why I called him a crooked lawyer. My reply was, you are and you will be deposed. However, I do agree and said to him outside the back room, my First Amendment rights prevail over any local rule. I told him the sign-in sheet he forced me to sign to be able to speak was illegal and also violated the First Amendment. What Finger Sulka Woods need to understand is you cannot legally tell anyone what to say or how to say it. You simply just listen to their 3 minutes, you thank them for speaking, and you call the next speaker. I do, however, believe in free speech speech should be factual, truthful, civil, no yelling, no profanity, no threatening, no nonviolent, non-disruptive, and giving and presented professionally and factually. This is what I've done for 8 years. Sulka continues to operate illegally, and all Sulka ever says is I violate her constantly changing rules for public comment. Have you noticed Sulka avoids my facts on her corruption, illegal use, and use of issue of tax funds by the Hilton Head Chamber and never answers? Sulka violations include perjury, criminal perjury, Murdoch lawyers, frivolous and malicious lawsuits, her illegal use and issue of tax funds and the illegal use of town employees, tax FOIA violations, and much more. To date, I have only been attacked by Sulka's Murdoch lawyers with a $50 million judgment with no facts, no laws, and no evidence. I am the only person who has facts and will seek a redress and retrial for the same $50 million in damages to me and my innocent wife. In fact, a new lawsuit was just filed by Sulka and her Murdoch lawyers against my wife, my innocent wife, my insurance company, and me for fraud and conspiracy to hide the $50 million. It's massive corruption. You will not get one penny. You will be held accountable, and I really believe you will be handcuffed at some point in time. You have a bubbly personality. You're very likable. You run these meetings like a college pep rally. But the fact is, your words and your actions are much different.
Next one, Barry Jen.
Again.
Jen. Sorry.
Or Jen.
Was there a second Jen?
Jen is good. Name and address, Mr. Ginn, and then we'll start with 3 minutes.
Mayor Sulka, I'm Barry Ginn. I live at 138 Pinecrest Circle, and I'm a proud resident of Bluffton, South Carolina. It only took me 47 years to get here. Is my 3 minutes started now? All right, Lisa, I wore orange for you today because you and I have had great conversations, and we've been in meetings together where sometimes I win and sometimes I lose, but I've always respected you when I left the room, okay? Now, I have to tear up this part of it because I was told I couldn't mention any names. I'm here because I have always had a problem with the Chamber of Commerce not being accountable for the tax dollars that they are being allotted on a year basis. I know Hilton Head does a lot more than you guys. But I'm here because I saw the meeting last month, and I was appalled of the actions of some people to put themselves and other people in danger, especially little Miss Bluffton. I thought that was appalling. I have supported this individual for years, and I will still support this individual in his quest to find accountability for all tax dollars that are paid to any individuals. I think if you do it for one person, if you spend $1, you should get receipts for $1. That's just the way I was brought up. That's the way I am. But when somebody comes in here and berates people that I've known for years, Danny Woods, our kids grew up together. Larry and I shrimped together. I know these people. I grew up with these people. I grew up in Hampton, South Carolina. And by the way, if you want a damn good lawyer, go to Hampton, South Carolina. So I'm here to say, I really had a nice thing to talk to you guys about. But I'm here to give y'all my expertise in negotiations with certain individuals to try to bring some civility to this after 8 years. I think we have to put respect back into our lives. And I think when you go up here and accost people and yell at people and threaten to sue and countersue, it's so non-productive. And if I can help in any way, negotiate.
You're breaking the rules of decorum. This is not about me. It's not about you. Just deal with yourself. And keep on asking.
And I promise you, I have the patience of Job. If I can negotiate where he can get what he wants, if you spend tax dollars and you have a question about how they're handled, it should be able to be told where to go.
Yes, thank you, sir.
If I can help, and by the way, you notice I wore orange. I already told you that.
Thank you, sir.
Just get transparency, that's all we're after. Thank you.
Lynn Greeley, if you could give your name and address, please, ma'am.
Yeah, Lynn Greeley, 8 Wax Myrtle Lane, Hilton Head. And I'm going to try this again. There's power of attorney. It has 2 witnesses. It's all legal. It's done by an attorney. So for my 3 minutes for
You can hand that to the lawyer.
Ma'am, we don't allow, he's already had his 3 minutes. Is there someone else in the room?
No, he's going to have my 3 minutes. I want to give it. If I want to give 3 minutes, what is it you
A
do?
POA is a law. It overrules any decorum or local rules, and if you don't like that, you can deal with it in court. You can give me a citation, but I highly suggest you don't remove me by police force. I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and read.
Real quick, before we start, let's turn that back. You've read your 3 minutes. If there's someone else in the room that can read her public comment, that's fine. I can read her public comment. You are not reading, you're not taking the podium.
I'm not asking for 3 minutes extra. I'm reading for her 3 minutes. It's the same 3 minutes.
You've
It's who I
already-
choose.
I'm sorry.
Have my 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, POA doc, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. So please start the clock and let me
You are
speak my 3
out of
minutes.
order, Mr. Hoagland. Once.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, if I may, just as a matter of privilege, Mr. Hoagland, my name's Richardson LaBruce. I'm here on behalf of Mr.
I know
Finger.
that.
And Ms. Greeley, my name's Richardson LaBruce here on behalf of Mr. Finger. And the rules are very clear. You can look at the very first one. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether that person is speaking on their own behalf or on the behalf of others. And the reason that's put into place is to ensure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak and that single people can't monopolize meetings. And if it comes, and as I'm sure you have experienced in meetings before, it can become a problem. It's important that these rules be followed. These rules are intended to allow this council to be able to conduct business in front of the members of the community that want to be here, the ones who are watching on television, the ones who are, sitting back there and waiting to hear what business is going to be conducted that's going to impact their daily lives. These rules do not differentiate based off of what you're going to say. They are solely intended to limit based off of time, manner, and place. What is an appropriate discussion topic? What are appropriate topics for discussion? The rules are clear. Ms. Greeley, this is Ms. Greeley's 3 minutes. This is her opportunity to speak. She may assign that right to someone. She cannot assign it, but you cannot assign it to someone who has already spoken for 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's just to.
Can I respond? I'm listening to you. I don't want to interrupt you.
That is up to the mayor. She gave me the opportunity to speak on my behalf, so I will defer to council.
And I appreciate it. So my response is this. A local decorum or rule does not overpower or overshadow a POA. A POA, she could just be in fear to speak. She could have laryngitis. If the POA gives you the right to assign your bank account to individuals. So what I'm telling you is you have to deal with this. And what I would do is if you don't, wait a minute, let me finish. I listen respectfully. Let me finish. I'm happy. I want to finish your speech because I'm claiming a power of attorney overshadows any local rule of decorum. If you don't agree with that, I'm going to finish my 3 minutes, and it says in your rules you could be removed and/or a citation. What I suggest you do is let me finish my 3 minutes, show Ms. Greeley respect. We're not asking for additional 3 minutes. I'm just substituting for her. And then if you want to give me a citation, I think that we let the judge and the jury, wait a minute, Ms. Sulka, please.
Mr. Hoagland, Mr. Hoagland, the mayor has ruled you out of order.
Let me finish.
Per our rules, you do not sit.
Your rules do not trump a POA. I'm sorry. It does not happen. It's not going to happen in this world that we live in. It's not going to happen.
Mr. Hoagland, Hoagland, this is, it's been a rule, the rules have been explained.
Your rule is illegal.
You can either have a seat, or we're going to end up where we were last month, and I'm going to look to the chief
I'm
and
gonna read
have
my
the same.
speech. I'm sorry.
Chief, will you, he's now
Okay.
disrupting a public meeting.
You're not going to read Mrs.
You can give me a citation, and we let the judge and the jury decide, but you're not going to be, you do not have the power to be a judge.
You are now disrupting a public meeting.
Please, let me finish. I listened to what y'all had to say. I'm responding. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Hoagland.
You are now disrupting a public meeting.
I'm not doing that at all.
Yes, you are, because we're trying to conduct business, and you're refusing to stop.
Give me a
And
citation,
if
and we
you
can deal
refuse
with
to
this in a court of
stop,
law.
you are disrupting the public meeting. We're going to follow
I'm
the
not
policy.
disrupting. I'm
The
not
policy
disrupting.
says you will either sit or you will be removed.
I'm going to read my 3
Chief,
minutes, and then you
please,
give me.
please take care of the situation.
Okay, I'm going to read my 3 minutes.
Mr. Hoagland, you do not have the floor. You do not have the floor.
I'm not-
You need,
Don't put your hands on me. I'm going to read my 3 minutes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to be in trouble. Sheriff Tanner told Lisa Sulka, do not use police to remove citizens who make 3-minute comments. It's illegal. You guys are breaking the First Amendment. You're breaking your oath as law officers. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Don't do it, or you're going to be in trouble. Look, I'm a big police supporter. I love
Mr. Hoagland,
It
Mr.
breaks my
Hoagland, this
heart
is not
to go
your
into this
meeting.
situation that y'all are being told to do this. It breaks my heart. Don't do it. Don't put your hands on. Hey, you're hurting my arm. Don't do it. Don't let me stand here and finish my speech.
Public comment is over. We're moving out to mayor and council, communications from mayor and council. Anyone on this side? Communications from mayor and council?
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what?
Oh, excuse me. I'm looking at you, Sharon, like,
I'm so sorry.
we can take this back a step. Public comment is not over.
You can have my one.
No, okay, now let's start. Any other public comments? That's okay. Sharon, name and address, please. 3 minutes, thank
My
you.
name is Sharon Brown. I'm at 163 Buck Island Road. Good evening, Town Council. I am here with major concerns on Buck Island Road. The first one is the ditch that is continually filling up with unclean, infectious water that, to my understanding, the drainage construction that took place is just to slow the water from filling up the ditches because the property next to the Jenkins property is wetland. So my question is that the best the town and Beaufort Water Sewer Authority can do is to put a Band-Aid on that problem. Is there anything else that we can do with that ditch to stop all this unclean water from filling up? Also, there is a safety concern. On that bridge walk by the Jenkins family residence, I see children walking on the edge of that rail as if it was a balancing beam. So there needs to be a high guardrail there, just like the one on the corner of Bluffton Parkway, the Buck Island Road, okay? And also, secondly, I'm truly troubled and confused as to why the town and the Bluffton Eagles Community Action Committee MOA contract is still binding for the town only for improvements that is made to maintenance of grass. Even though the MOA says, whereas the town has agreed to offer assistance and aid to the committee to enhance and add value to the historic field, in which I understand throughout the past 8 years, the Bluffton Eagles Action Committee, whom Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hamilton, he's the chairman, and I might add a town council member, nor the board of directors has taken any initiative to accept any assistance from the town, nor ask for any assistance while the amenities on that field is rotting away. My question to you, town council members, what is the purpose of the MOA with this dysfunctional board? My tax dollars is paying for the town to maintenance, the town maintenance department to mow the lawn, which clearly this board has money to keep up the maintenance themselves. So I have a problem with that. My tax dollars, where they have money, is already stated. Mr. Hamilton said they have $93,000. There are people in this community, my community, who has agreed that they would maintenance that field, but because of who the people are, they refuse to because they don't like the people. So my tax dollars are going to mow the lawn, which is unacceptable. So I want to know, in your MOA, it also has this clause, which I'm very disturbed about. It says, in the future, if the town assumes responsibility in whole or in part of public recreation facilities and/or programs, the committee agrees to cooperate and work with the town in all relevant aspects. Is there some hidden underlining there? So I just want you guys to know that I'm very upset that my tax dollars is going where you have a chairman over the committee and a town council member, where the town council are supposed to work together to help the community. This is not helping our community. That field out there looks so degraded for 12 years, and we got a council member here that's the chairman and will not provide any type of amenities to fix it. Thank you so much for your time. I beat that clock. Thank you.
Lastly, I'm sorry, again, Jack Gato?
Jack Cato, I'm at 13 Princeton Circle in Hilton Head Island. I wanted to just ask, I don't know if I can ask questions. If you don't need it, you can't answer. That's okay. But my question is pretty simple. I just saw this circus that happened up here, and it's happened before, from what I've seen. Why can't this be done someplace else? Why can't it be taken in a way or done in a way where it can be behind closed doors in your office, wherever, so that it doesn't have to unfold like this? And I'm kind of at a loss for words that it had to happen. It doesn't seem like it has to happen. Why can't it be more civil? Why? And I'd like I know you can't answer the question, unfortunately, but I'd like to propose the fact that it can be taken behind closed doors. I would hope it can be held in a place where if somebody's accusing you of things, accusing anybody here, they should be able to accuse it and get an answer. So my point is pretty simple. Please try to find a way to handle things like this outside of this environment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That is it. This is the promise.
Thank y'all for understanding. Public comment is over. Now we have communications from mayor and council. I'll look to Ms. Frazier. Anyone from over here?
I'm good.
Anyone? Thank you for your comments. We do listen and we take notes, and I appreciate all of your comments. It is Heritage Week, and you have seen the banners up and down the road, and you may wonder, why do we put banners in Bluffton when the golf tournament is on Hilton Head? They have announced a $50 million limit reach. They have reached $50 million in grants to nonprofits, and half of those grants come from this area. It's Bluffton Self-Help, Volunteers in Medicine. I mean, just name the nonprofit. The school kids are cleaning trash. The Bluffton High Athletics are picking up the trash. The Hilton Head Island High School kids are parking cars. It is a charity event to give money back to the community. So that's why we have it up there, to thank our volunteers. 40% of the volunteers come from this zip code. So it's a really great tournament. And don't think of it so much as golf, is smile when those people ride through, because they're spending money that's going to turn right back around and get back in our town. So enjoy it if y'all can go. That's all I have. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to the meeting. The reason we have this meeting, and it's formal agenda items. First is Natalie. It's consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Business and Business Regulations, to add Division 1, which is local business license, and Division 2, business license for insurers, brokers, and telecommunication providers, to Article 2, business licenses and regulations. Natalie, authorizing and directing the Town of Bluffton to enter into an intergovernmental agreement relating to South Carolina Revenue Services to participate in one or more local revenue source and to execute and deliver one or more participant program supplements and other matters. This is first reading, and she's going to explain why this is on our agenda.
Good job.
Natalie, you are up. Hope the motion is now.
Before you is a proposed amendment, as you had stated, where we're going to add two divisions to Article 2 to incorporate MAIC's recommendation to adopt an ordinance to their new local revenue services program. So a little bit of background. The town fully adopted the recommended standardized business licensing ordinance through Act 176 And the town adopted this in August of 2021 to be prepared for the January 1st deadline. Since then, MAIC has rebranded the collection program to the Local Revenue Services and has renamed its programs offered through it. The town has been a participant in the program of all three programs offered. In order to continue to participate, the town will, it is recommended that the town adopt the ordinance and then sign the agreement and the supplement that is provided in your packet. For recommendation, the town recommends that first reading is adopted today or approved today. And then the following next steps is second reading at the next council meeting on May 9th, and then the signing of the agreement and the supplement provided. MASC is recommending that this be completed by May 26th. And it'll continue, it'll allow the town to continue into the programs that are offered. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
This one, questions? Questions? This is second reading. We don't do a public hearing on business license. I mean, this is first reading, but we don't do a public hearing. No questions. Is there a motion to approve an amendment to the Town of Bluffton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, adding Division 1 and Division 2, and to add Article 2, business licenses and regulations, authorizing and directing the Town of Bluffton to enter into an intergovernmental agreement relating to South Carolina Revenue Services, and to participate in one or more local revenue service programs, to execute and deliver one or more participant program supplements and other matters relating thereto. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. That's approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Opposed? None. Sorry. Kim. Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Item number 2, approval to authorize a construction contract with Southern Palmetto Landscapes.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah. For landscape improvements at Oyster Factory Park parking lot, and fiscal limit is $106,030.47.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, a little history on Oyster Factory Park for those of us joining in the public and online. Oyster Factory Park Master Plan was passed in 2015. This is in partnership not only with the town, but with Beaufort County and the Open Land Trust for recreational, scenic, and historic uses. The particular master plan that you see here was used as an exhibit and amendment of the agreement dated on October 19th of 2015. And based on council feedback since that time, I'm not going to read through all of these bullet points since they're provided. This information was incorporated into an updated master plan, which is the 2022 master plan. This particular master plan received Beaufort County Council approval in November of 22, and there's currently site development construction ongoing to expand the parking lot just to the sort of south of the existing parking lot that faces along Bridge Street. Part of that existing work is to install landscape. This is some of the schematic of what landscape features and hardscape features we will be incorporating. We will do some sod irrigation as well as some civil construction, and the work should be quick. It should be about 60 days from start of construction to completion. Per our procurement policy, bids were put out and due on the 14th of March. You can see Southern Palmetto Landscaping is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. So we are recommending that you authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Southern Palmetto Landscapes for the aforesaid amount. Following that execution, we'll go ahead, do the contract kickoff, get a pre-con and get going, and get that done before the end of the fiscal year.
Any questions? Anything over here? Anything? Great. If no questions, is there a motion to approve authorizing the town manager to enter into a construction contract with Southern Palmetto Landscaping for landscape improvements at the Oyster Factory Park for $106,030.47 plus a 15% contingency?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. You're spending all our money, Kim.
Spend your money and we're building things.
And building
We're building
things.
things for the community. It's awesome.
Number 3 under formal items is approval to authorize a construction contract with Hilton Head Landscapes for hardscape and landscape development adjacent to the Rotary Community Center. This has a fiscal impact of $129,702.54.
And again, another park improvement based on a master plan that was originally approved in 2001 and recently amended in 18. There has been ongoing improvements at the Field of Dreams and in general to the Oscar Frazier Park, most recently replacing some turf, and obviously we're moving forward with something you'll see next week with sports courts and splash pads. This particular phase of it is installing what was called for in the master plan, such as tabby sidewalk connectors that will currently then connect the Rotary Community Center to the surrounding park area, the perimeter pathway, as well as to Bluffton Park itself up to the sidewalks. Will include additional rain garden drainage improvements and power pedestals that will support community events in the area. Schematic of that, it's just so that it's provided, not to get into the details, so you can see the hard path constructions. Again, per our procurement policy, we had our bids received on March 28th. And with that in mind, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Hilton Head Landscapes. So we are recommending, again, council authorize town manager to execute said contract with the contractor to begin construction. We would hope that this would be completed before the end of the fiscal year, but that one's a little bit tight. But anyway, then you'll be seeing us next week, sports courts and splash pads.
Any questions? Anything on this side? Ms. Frazier? Mr. Toomer? Mr. Wood? Okay. If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve authorizing the town manager to enter into a construction contract with Hilton Head Landscapes for hardscape and landscape development adjacent to the Rotary Community Center for $129,702.54, plus a 15% contingency?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We were doing 20%. We're doing 50%.
It depends on the complexity and location of some of the projects, especially when we're working in a historic district where we don't know where some of those utility locates might be. That's why.
All
So we're trying to be responsible, fiscally responsible as possible.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
I do, Mayor.
Yes.
I heard you say splash pad, Kim, with this, and
Come on, Bruce.
was very excited to know
I have so much more to say about that.
that we have a park that is not completely passive, that young families and people get to enjoy, so.
Bridget, is that a question?
That was a
It's discussion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Item 4, consideration of a resolution authorizing initiation of legal proceedings supporting construction of historic district sewer extensions.
Recognizing that this is a long-going issue and topic for everyone, recent folks may not understand that the issue of ghost roads, as well as how they relate to septic system failures, and the environmental health and public health issues of the May River has been a subject of study for about 10 years. So it's hitting multiple facets that are important for the town. Obviously, this is a priority for council for that reason. Reflected in the May River Watershed Action Plan, there was a recommendation to eliminate all septic systems throughout the entire watershed, and that led to an adopted resolution in 2017 for the creation and establishment of the sewer connection and extension policy. Within that policy, we have strategic plan guidance that staff has been working toward. And that has, with the May River Watershed Action Plan Advisory Committee recommendation, established a 500-foot priority buffer area along the coves and along the May River banks itself for the elimination of septic systems within the towns right within its jurisdiction. In order to do that, we have historically unclear title to roadways called ghost roads and or orphan roads. That means that we have to clear the right-of-way, or clear the title so that we can have right-of-way to build these capital improvement program projects. This is in accordance with a recommendation that was passed via ordinance in 2006 by the Old Town Master Plan. So again, this issue of clearing rights-of-way and title has been around for quite some time. That priority buffer area of 500 feet is reflected in this particular exhibit. To date, we have finished already the priority area 1 along Pritchard Street and you've already approved the contract to do the connections on phase 2 and 3. However, we still have 4, 5, and 6. So that means we have had voluntary quitclaim deeds provided to the town for all of phase 1 for Bridge Street and Colcock Street. However, as we're moving through design, we are foreseeing with not getting voluntary quitclaim deeds signed for the areas along Lawrence Street, Green Street, Pope Lane, Water Street, and Allen Street. If we do not begin legal action now, it will impact the construction timeline in the fall, which is why we're before you now. And this is an exhibit showing specifically what quitclaim deeds we still need and or from whom we need to clear title. And again, 4, 5, and 6 for historic sewer districts. So in legal counsel, in moving through our property acquisition and procurement policy, if we can't get quitclaim deeds, then we can move into quiet title action, which precedes condemnation or eminent domain. And this is us moving forward with filing legal paperwork saying in a court system that we are claiming title to these areas, and then all potentially affected property owners are put on notice. They are given a time limit to respond. If there is no response, it can go straight to a judge to be heard, and it can all be cleared. If the response is, and Richardson, please correct me at any moment in time. I'm watching you. If there is a response that somebody says they do have a claim, then it does go before a judge. A judge then will have a trial, and it will be ruled upon in somebody's favor, either the town's or the property owners. If it's ruled upon in the property owner's decision, then we have to move into the eminent domain process to go ahead and complete these projects. So what we're currently asking you is to authorize us to work with legal counsel to initiate legal actions. Next steps, if you approve, would be resolutions starting to move through this and file the required legal proceedings. Questions? Yes, Mr. Hamilton?
Did you say if the judge ruled against the town, we will still file for eminent domain?
Because that would be the portion that's the quiet title, which is more, again, please jump in at any moment. If it's, this is a simpler process than moving through condemnation and claiming eminent domain. We are tying this obviously to the sewer projects because these are capital improvement projects, which is typically where eminent domain could be used if we're not getting voluntary and or compensated through. Go ahead. How much did I botch that?
No. No, I thank you, Kim. Councilman Hamilton. So there is, at this point, eminent domain won't have been authorized by this resolution. That is just giving a possible next step if the quiet title is not successful to be able to proceed forward with a condemnation action. And I'm sorry, I put the mint in my mouth right before. To give a little bit of background information, and this, I hope you don't mind, I'm speaking almost a little bit to the members of the audience here as well who may be here and are wondering about what's going on. Part of the issue involves the age or the date of when most of Bluffton was founded. So this Old Town Historic District, back in the 1840s, back in the 100 years prior when the colonial government of South Carolina was putting its initial infrastructure in, all roads in the state were laid out, owned, and operated by the state government. As the state expanded, or as the colony expanded, they created these little groups called commissioners of roads that acted like a county government. And there was St. Helena Parish, which was all Beaufort County, and then eventually St. Luke's Parish, which became Bluffton and Hilton Head. So these commissioner of roads were then given the power to govern these roads, to control these roads, to lay out roads, maintain roads. This continued up until the 1830s, 1840s, when something became known as a private path became well known, and that's basically a private street, a private right-of-way. When towns were set up under, pre-Civil War, these towns that were set up were done by the state, essentially. They were laid out. If a property owner wanted to create a subdivision that they were going to sell individual lots, they would contact the Surveyor General at the State House, and they would send out one of the deputies. Bluffton was platted by a deputy surveyor, Buckner. We know that back in the 1830s. The issue is land records in the 1860s were destroyed for most of Beaufort County when the courthouse was burned down by General Sherman. So there are no clear dedications or no clear rights of way of record like there are with many of the other cities in this state. The other issue is because of the way that Bluffton was created, it was incorporated by charter of the General Assembly back, the first time back in the 1850s. That lasted for 3 years. And then I think it was extended for another 3 years. But in 1856 or so, the Bluffton's original charter expired, and the General Assembly did not vote to renew it. During that time period, and I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there. We are. It's the next turn. It's the next turn I'm taking. So at that point, when there was a town of Bluffton, all of the roads in the town were considered owned by the town government. When that corporation expired, that charter expired, that's when some of the laws changed. And what we're trying to do is clear up the fact that there has been this public dedication of the roadways to the town of Bluffton, and that the town can go in there and build the utilities that it needs to do. And that's an essential component of grant funding and a lot of other issues that is really handcuffing the town and moving forward. The roads, the right-of-ways, those were all set in stone back in the 1840s, how wide they needed to be, where they could be located, how far from churches they needed to be. So a lot of that we'll look into, and we'll get that information to anybody who wants to know it. But the reason that we went with quitclaim deeds originally, and why we've requested quitclaim deeds, is because that gives the town a lot more flexibility, and it saves taxpayer money versus initiating legal proceedings to try a quiet title to those. The reason that we're having to go forward with the quiet title is to confirm that we have the rights to go in there, build the sewer, and do the other infrastructure that may be necessary. So it's a lot of information. It's something that's been looked at for years and years and years, and I tried to distill it as best I could in a short time. And Kim knows me well enough to know that was an effort on my part there.
My question still wasn't answered though. Why are we going to further put the tax burden on our citizens if the judge ruled against us?
So the judge ruling against us would just be that we can't establish clearly that we are the owners. And the issue that we have is with all the records that have been destroyed, we're not going to be certain who the owner is. The alternative would be the judge saying that the property owners own the roadway and it's been dedicated to the public. And so then we would have to proceed with potentially an eminent domain action so that we would have the rights to extend the sewer main lines down those roadways. Because we have to have property right. We have to have the right of the property owner to get in there, and right now we don't know who the property owner is.
Not the whole entire list, just maybe one or two. You're not talking about the.
So what we are trying to do is get quitclaim deeds from all of the property owners, or however many we can, so that we can have so that we can move forward with some of those actions that Kim's team and others are wanting to move forward with.
Stop to Bridget's question and then.
More so a comment. Thank you, Richardson, for giving us that background there. But more so a comment, especially as we have those in the audience who may be here for this particular issue and those who are watching at home. We're in a very peculiar era where there's a lot of misinformation that gets spread, a lot of times for individuals' personal benefit. And I think those of us who know the truth have a responsibility to speak to that truth. And so anyone who is under the guise that this this somehow is a power grab for the town and staff to go in and usurp property owners' rights is definitely not the case. I have my own apprehensions when we first started down this road, and one of the contingencies that was put into place is to make sure that property owners had the education as to exactly what was going on and what would the benefit of this process be. So essentially is in the same vein that what utility companies have done in going in and being able to have this utility easement that goes for something that everyone has spoken up in favor of, and that is protecting one of our most valuable resources here. So no question, Mayor, just more so wanting to clear that up. I think it's very irresponsible for anyone who has or use their platform to spread that out to the community. Anyone who has further questions or concerns, our town manager always has made himself available, as is his staff, if you'd like to get more information on exactly what's going on, or if you wanted to see exactly what the process looks like. I would just encourage people to do that before they subscribe to any false narratives that someone might be saying to them.
You have something?
Yeah, I want to ask Richardson, once again, I've already asked this many times. I know I own a few pieces of property, and, you know, at the courthouse, it's recorded, you know, so many degrees north, so many degrees south, east, west. That's your property. That's my property that nobody can come on if I don't want them to. Everyone's tax bill should be, it shouldn't be, if it's not on the tax bill, then more than likely they haven't been paying taxes on it, they probably don't own it. If they have been paying taxes on it, I understand. You know, we might have to pay them, hopefully pray that we don't have to go through all that, because it's for the benefit of our children and grandchildren having what we've been so blessed to have with that God Almighty May River that we've all enjoyed and spent years and years on. It's not to build condominiums on a ghost road or put up a circus or build anything. That's not why we're doing what we're doing. It is simply to try to get the human fecal coliform from going into our waterway and sending it to the treatment plant, where anybody with a little bit of common sense would understand that's something we need to get going on, because we're getting closer and closer to being in trouble for not just picking oysters, but a lot of other stuff. To me, it's a no-brainer. I've been fighting for this for going on 20 years. The whole concept of getting the town on sanitary sewer. I learned right off the bat when we were having some problems in unincorporated Beaufort County. Went to them and said, y'all don't have your town on sanitary sewer. So basically, without cleaning up your own backyard, you're not going to get any help from the big guys, the state or the county or anywhere else. So we have already approved spending approximately $2 million of the town's money on this Town of Bluffton, Stony Creek area, a joint venture with Beaufort, Jasper, and the county. Maybe even more than $2 million the way things are going up. Just to help protect the river. It's not even in our jurisdiction, but we all care enough, and we know it's vital if we want to save the river, that we got to put some money into it, and hopefully we can accomplish that. That's all I've got to say. To me, it's a no-brainer. Thank you.
I'll just very quickly say, on the yellow on the screen where number 4 is, I lived on the corner over there, actually just out of the yellow, and when I bought my property, like most people, your property is defined where your lot lines are. And the lot lines, in my case, do not fall into the ghost road that I live on. So the other part of this is a lot of individuals that live on ghost roads will actually benefit from this in the long run. For example, Dubose and other places where the potholes and everything continuously show up.
Nobody wants to fix the road, nobody claims the road, so what do you do? So there is a benefit to a lot of this. And the last comment I'll make is like Hilton Head had these same situation years ago, and they sold them to an individual on the island, and then years later, needs that they were unaware of, they had to come back and repurchase that same ghost roads and easements and everything back from that same individual at a more lucrative price for that individual. So looking 10, 20 years out from now, we still don't know all the needs. We know we need some electric utility easements coming up to bury the overhead lines. So there's a lot more that plays into this than maybe a lot of people realize. And so I think we're doing the right thing. I know we're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Kim? Okay, if no more questions, is there a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the town attorney to initiate legal proceedings to confirm title to certain rights of way in Bluffton as necessary to construct historic district sewer extension phases 4 through 6? Is there a second? Any discussion?
I gotta say this.
Yes, please do.
I don't agree with if we find that we already confused about what we own because records does not lend itself to that fact. We were trying to prove that we own the property as well. So if we find that a judge finds us we don't have the right to that road, if a judge finds that. And I think everything that is said, what Bridget said, what Larry said, what Dan said, I'm in total agreement with. But I'm not in agreement with taking something that's not mine.
Any other discussion?
No.
Well, we're discussing because we're not, any other discussion? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
4-1. We have really great information in our consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that council would like more information on? If not, I'd encourage those looking online and here tonight. It shows all our reports, it shows our projects, it shows more detail of what we're doing in each of our departments. So I would encourage you all to take a look at those when you go on our agenda center. If nothing's taken off, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And there is no executive session. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you all for being here. Third, fourth.